Hello, so we are reading Porn and Frankincense by Dorothy Dunnett, chapters 2 and 3, which are called Lions and then Martha, I believe. Martha? So much happens in these chapters, to be honest. I always feel like so much happens in every chapter just because they're so dense, you know. Basically, Lymond is like getting together this group of peasants under his command as his like kind of entourage to go to Turkey. And he's just so good at ordering people. Philippa is like, this is, you know, why not? Why not order this small entourage around when you have your entire command post in France that you've been working on for the past 2 years, Lymond? So apparently Francis really is kind of, it says here, balked at publicly beating up Europe in pursuit of a 1-year-old Byblow is what I meant to say. Byblow. So basically Lymond is externally, like publicly saying that why would he be, you know, focusing so much attention on trying to find Graham just for this 1-year-old kid. He actually has said that, or at least kind of scoffed at it in public. It's interesting because I want to believe that that's not what Lymond feels. That Lymond truly is saying that just to act tough. But I don't know, like he might actually genuinely believe that is the case, because it is kind of crazy to like be going on this huge expedition for this kid where he could put in harm's way the people around him, and so he probably is weighing that up. But also at the same time, at the end of the last book, he was just like, I will get you back, my son, I will not fail you. So I don't know, he obviously has deep feelings for this son that he's never met, who could be dead but probably isn't. This chapter basically sets out the meeting with Gaultier, and the Dame de Dunnett. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I think I'm doing better than last time. And meeting up with them again, and then Philippa meets them. Lymond has found out where Una is in Algiers, and then Philippa was given information on a way that she might be able to save the baby, because Philippa is very, I forget the baby's name now. I do remember, it starts with a K, Cameldon or something. Philippa is very hung up on the baby, which is fine. Because compare this to Gilletta, who wouldn't have given like a rat's ass about saving a baby. I'm probably being mean to Gilletta. I'm sorry, Gilletta. So they're transporting basically it's called a spinnet. I guess that's a big thing back in those days, transporting something. We also get a little bit of a sort of a bit of scariness here, because they're getting attacked by bandits, or just not bandits, no, that's not the right thing. They're just, as their entourage is moving through France to get to wherever they're trying to get to the ship. I believe they're trying to get to, so they were at Baden and now they're at Lyon, and they're trying to get to, I think, Marseille, so that they can get on their ship and then travel to Turkey via Algiers, which is not exactly on the way. But anyway, so they're traveling and they're getting, you know, set upon by different groups. And at one point, they are going through a town, and Lymond only manages to shake them off by emptying gold onto the ground, I'm assuming. This is what I'm picturing, so that people would stop attacking them and just go for the money. But Lymond has lost 2 of his close servants, who were servants he actually took from the Coulter home, as in like the Crawford home, and so they must be really trusted servants, and they are dead, as well as one other. So that's suspicious that someone might be actually tracking Lymond down, and secretly somewhere Lymond has a price on his head, probably from Gabriel. Quite funnily, when they go to speak to Gaultier and the Dame de Dunnett, there's a really funny, Jarrett's POV is so great. I just love Jarrett, he's so good. Basically, if she was going to tell Lymond he ought to find a nice girl and marry her, Jarrett very much wanted to be there. I totally agree with that. You just want to be there when Lymond's getting his future read and it's just like this plain vanilla boring stuff and he's just like, what? And Jarrett's just like, yes, this is what you should do. Stop doing all this crazy stuff. Absolutely beautiful description of the dame, the Lady of Dunnett. She was seated in a tall canopied chair, like a chair that has a canopy over it even though she's inside, okay? Its feet lost in darkness. Isn't that amazing? Like it's floating in darkness. And of her body too, nothing could be seen but a glimpse of archaic, unraveling robes and 2 hands burdened with rubies. Oh, what a burden. Which lay like insects on her lap. Just the characterization of the rubies as insects and the darkness, just such a creepy vibe. The mouth opened, black in the seamed underlit mask. What a brilliant description. Just, that is so good. I've highlighted that in the book because it was just amazing. Just this creepy, it's exactly what you would expect from a fortune teller. It's exactly what you would expect and it's written so well. So I won't go too much on about like what goes on here. It's really just, she says, your father's 2 sons will never meet in this life again. And my first thought, which lasted for about 2 seconds, was Richard and Lymond are never going to meet, which makes me think Richard dies. Nope. The second thought that came after that is the fact that either Richard or Lymond is a bastard. And so that means that the father's 2 sons are never going to meet again in this life. If Lymond has another brother to a different father, because he is the bastard, which makes more sense in this situation, I'm just going to say that Gabriel is his older brother and they're never going to meet. Okay, I've said it, I know it's wrong, but what if it's true? Because we already had in the in Queen's play, the Dame de Dunnett, I still can't say that, oh my gosh, is mentioned that there was, like, suggested that there was like some sort of bastardry in the family. I do feel like it still would be so much more interesting for Richard to be the bastard, because then that just makes it even more juicy that Lymond is the one who isn't going to take over the Coulter district and like the baronship, but I don't think that is the case. So who is Lymond's brother that we don't know? And they've met before, because by saying that they're not going to meet again implies that they have met before. And I'm just thinking of all like the blonde men that we've seen in this book, and that is like Gabriel, who is literally described as good looking and good with a sword, and he's smart. You know, they're kind of 2 peas in a pod. I mean, I'm wrong about this, but it's an interesting thought. She knows when Lymond is going to die. And I also really liked how Lymond dropped quietly to one knee, all caprice gone from his face. Shall we meet? He's asking about Una. Like, he really wants to know if he's going to meet Una again. And they are. You will see her. She doesn't specify alive or dead. You will see her. Oh, so we don't know. We don't know. But yeah, Francis is just all like squishy as soon as he's like asking about Una. Like, he would have been so nervous. He's like, are we going to meet again? The other thing was, oh my God, just knowing the date of his death. I can tell you, I think she specifically says, because Lymond's asked, promise me that Richard will be safe. And she says Richard will be safe. But like, obviously he's not going to be safe forever. Like, he's going to die of something. So that does imply either Richard has nothing to do with this, or Lymond is the one that dies before we meet Richard again, which means we're never going back to Scotland. And I just find that, I don't know, I want to meet Richard again, but I just don't want him to be the other son of Lymond's father, because Lymond has a different father. They only have the same mother. Not soon enough, despite everything, is Lymond's death, according to the dame, and that's fine. Not quite soon enough. The implications of that, like, she's like, no, Lymond should die, but unfortunately not soon enough, because he's going to cause all this trouble. Anyway, so Philippa, I think the biggest and most heart-wrenching thing about Philippa's discussion with the dame is that, are you saying that you and I and Lymond and Lymond's mother and Lymond's brother and Graham Mallet would be better off if he weren't discovered, he being the baby? And the answer is yes. And so Philippa is still deciding to want to find this baby, despite knowing that all of them would be better off if they didn't go for the baby. And that's a really hard decision to make, because what is better off? Are we talking about all of them dying, or like terribly injured, or some of them dying? Or, I mean, the question is, we don't know if baby Carradine would be better found or not found. Like, maybe if they find the baby, he'll be better off, but everyone else will be worse off. And maybe if they don't find the baby, they'll all have happier lives, but the baby might die or have a terrible life of slavery. And that's the choice there. A large tear from nowhere ran down the back of Philippa's nose, and she coughed. Oh yeah, that's so true. I love it how Dunnett has described like the tears that you get internally from like swallowing them back and not allowing them out, so they just drip through your nose and then come down the back. It's just so great. Yes, we've all been there. So the next chapter is them getting on this ship and meeting Martha, who is just a random character. Martha is the assistant of Gaultier, and Gaultier and Martha are looking after this spinet thing that they're taking to Turkey. So important that she's there for some reason. There was a really amazing line on page 34. Grey light through 3 small lattices touched on the crimson velvet of the window seats and expired at the edge of the fringed stools and the few high-backed chairs. Darkness, warmth and firelight in turn owned the rest of the room. Philippa entered, following that pleasant, discouraging voice. So this is Philippa walking in to try to like eavesdrop on Lymond, and she had thought it was Lymond's voice when it was actually Martha's. So Martha has a really deep voice. I don't know if we're supposed to believe that Martha is a trans woman. That was like my first instinct, or just have a really deep voice. There's also like a question on her looks being alarming. What precisely do you find so alarming, my character or my looks? An 18-year-old blonde of doubtful virginity had been Lymond's first ironical guess at Martha, but Philippa thought Gerrit had tried to send this girl home for other reasons entirely. But what other reasons? I am confused about why Gerrit is so creeped out by Martha. It doesn't make me any sense. Anyway, so apparently she must have a voice that is like Lymond's, so deeper than usual, because Philippa assumes that that's Lymond speaking when it was Martha. They have a similar voice. Maybe Martha is Lymond's like other sister. Interesting. No, these are wild ideas. There was this great line. So Martha and Philippa talking is fantastic. They have some great banter. So there was a point where basically they get on the ship eventually. Philippa and Martha being 2 women on the ship, and no one wanted them there, whatever, they're there. Of course we knew that was going to happen. And Francis is giving Philippa like a little tour around and doesn't mention that he knows a lot about how to run a ship because he's obviously been a slave on one of the galleys. And Martha says, where for 2 years they had Master Francis Crawford, did you not know? And Philippa's like, he knew I didn't. I don't know why Lymond didn't tell Philippa that when he was showing her around, like, but the next line is amazing from Martha. He has to perfection the art of living his private life with as much public attention as possible. You don't agree? It's a confusing line. Basically, Martha is accusing Lymond of having his private life like on display for everyone because he secretly loves attention. It's just the art of living his private life with as much public attention as possible. Or he keeps his private life really private, but then his public stuff really public, and he still likes being really loud and controlling and having a lot of attention on him, but that's not his true life. He keeps his private stuff really shoved down. I don't know, it was a confusing line, but it was an interesting, I don't know what you think of that particular line. That was on page 3940. I absolutely love the description of the ship's fight after this. So 2 ships come up to attack Lymond's ship, or the Dauphine. There's this great line here on page 41. Philippa's POV. She remembered the oars entering the water, 52 blades as one. The surge as the slaves, second foot thrusting the bench, crashed back on their seats, arms outstretched. Red-capped heads turned to the prow while the loom performed its semicircle. That's just so, it's so visceral. Like I just felt like I was on the ship seeing these men row the oars. It was really powerful. And Philippa's obviously just thinking, my gosh, Lymond was one of those, but also impressed at how good they are at coordinating. It's just honestly amazing. So basically Lymond tries to outrun these 2 ships and can't, and then they turn around to try to fight, and we get this amazing fight, which is kind of unbelievable that Lymond managed to win this, but just like, it reminded me of Pirates of the Caribbean, where they do have a cannon that has 2 things come out and with a chain wrapped on each cannonball, and it gets the main mast and brings it down. I'm sure that happened in Pirates of the Caribbean, and this is essentially copying this. I don't think it's a copy, but that was great. I absolutely loved this. Philippa observes you don't like him, talking to Martha regarding Francis. They're just talking whilst, you know, they're casually, all this battle is going on around them, and they're like, we're probably going to lose. They keep peeking through like the little hatch, which I also find wild that they can see much at all. I absolutely love the detail. Makes me really like Lymond, that he has unhooked each oarsman, so all of the slaves, from their fetters. So if they went down, if their ship sank, they wouldn't be sinking with the ship. They would be able to swim away, which is just so lovely. And of course he did that at the beginning of Queen's Play, when there was an issue, like a ship fight. He was really busy trying to unhook all of the slaves so that they wouldn't drown when the boat went down. He does the same thing here, which is also kind of scary, because Philip is seeing this going, oh, well, if he's doing that, this must be really bad. He thinks we're going to sink. Under the queer lurid sky, the water moved, heaving unbroken in a dark and metal-bloomed blue. The image of this huge sandstorm from Africa coming over and blowing onto the ocean where these 3 ships are fighting is just wild. I want to see this in picture. So the ships they're fighting are really well armed, like 400 soldiers, Spanish built. Martha's like, I don't know if I want us to win, because how very trying that unassailable self-esteem would become of Lymond's. And Philippa's like, I think I could struggle along with it. Yes, you can. Philippa, you have been getting very good at dealing with Lymond's unassailable self-esteem. It is assailable. We have seen Lymond's self-esteem go down. It is assailable. So anyway, they bring the one ship down, which kind of stops in its tracks. And I wonder if that ship unfettered the slaves from their chains. We don't know. And then on the other ship, they managed to get out of the way just in time so that the 2 enemy ships ran themselves. It honestly was a little bit unbelievable, but I'm gonna go with it. I guess they're just not used to the unpredictability of Lymond. Sorry, I have to read out another cool line on page 44. Timbers creaked, the sea slapped and hissed up and down below freeboard, and on deck sprays of fire bloomed from gun place to gun place, sizzling in the burnt orange haze. The sun had gone, and although it was afternoon still, falling chiffons of light brown and russet concealed the light from the sky and enclosed the 3 ships and the glittering indigo water in a strange saffron dusk. Amazing, just like this umbrella of this. I'm not even going to begin to try to re-describe what was already perfectly written, okay? Let's not do that. Lymond being like, Philippa, who is... we were laying wagers over whether we'd be raped or resigned to a smug little victory. Lymond's like, why not both? We can arrange it. They're already getting the smug victory. Also a really sad moment with Philippa. I just feel for her. Basically, like, Martha and Lymond are talking, and Martha is very witty, and basically Philippa's watching this wit go back and forth, and before the spark of blue eyes meeting blue, okay, so they both have blue eyes, Philippa's undistinguished gaze dropped. How mean. Dunnett, stop being mean to Philippa. So she has this very undistinguished gaze. Probably, it sort of implies both physically and verbally that she's very undistinguished compared to these two in this room. Kind of like a dull rock compared to 2 diamonds. Mean. The next chapter is called Una, because we are now in Algiers, so I'm going to be very glad to continue reading on, and I will see you next time.